What's up, guys? Today we'll be comparing the Galaxy Note 10 Plus to the S23 Ultra. Will this be enough to get Note 10 Plus users to upgrade? We're going to find out. So let's go ahead and talk about the price first. So without any trade-ins or any deals like that, this phone, the S23, is going to cost you around $1,200. After tax, close to $1,300. The Note 10 Plus, it will cost you a little bit under 300 bucks actually in the used refurbished marketplace, just like this one, and I'll have that link down below for you guys. And let's go ahead and dive in here. So the first thing that stands out is the designs of these two phones. Look at how well the Note 10 Plus has aged. Still looks really good. This is Samsung or Glow color that they never brought back, which I think a lot of people like. Just attracts a lot of people's eyes when I bring it out in public. It's a very nice looking design. I think it's aged really well for just the age of this phone. I think it still looks extremely clean compared to the S23 Ultra even. So one of the things you'll notice instantly is that the S23 Ultra, it is noticeably a little bit thicker, but also it's really just, you'll notice the heaviness of this device since it has a much larger battery in it. Also, when it comes to the hardware here, you can see some slight differences. So at the bottom, your S Pen is located on the left hand side on the S23, and then the Note 10 Plus, it's on your right hand side. And then also your button cutouts. So you can see there's nothing on the Note 10 Plus, your power button, volume rockers, but then on the left hand side, the buttons are on the Note 10 Plus as well too. Both these phones are IP68 dust and water resistant as well, so you can get them wet, they won't break instantly. But I think it's pretty awesome how just really nice the Note 10 Plus design is all these years later. I think it just shows that this phone was kind of a futuristic design when it came out. Also, one thing that you might like with the S23 Ultra is that it does have a matte finish on here, so you virtually will get no fingerprints on this device. And you guys could just see the camera, how big the cameras have gotten over the years. Just massive, and obviously there's more cameras. So yeah, I do really like the designs on both of these guys. What do you guys think? Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the display. So if I didn't say anything, you wouldn't know which one was which, right? Because they look pretty much identical. I'm looking at them color-wise, they look pretty much identical. There's very slight differences here, but there are actually some really nice screen upgrades, but it really depends on the person if it's actually enough. So again, the futuristic design of the Note 10 Plus, it looks exactly the same. So let's just go over the specs real quick here. The S23 Ultra has a 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's 120Hz HDR10+. It gets up to 1750 nits peak brightness. So basically, this phone is much brighter than the Note 10 Plus outdoors, which is definitely a plus. It's 1440p 500 for the PPI. The Note 10 Plus also has a 6.8-inch display. It's dynamic AMOLED HDR10+, but it does not have any type of 120Hz or high refresh rate. It's 1440p 498 for the PPI. Basically, when you just look at both screens, watching YouTube content, playing games, they pretty much look identical in terms of the screen quality. Where you see the big difference is with these two phones is the 120Hz. So basically, the S23 Ultra just feels much smoother when you're scrolling, bouncing in and out of applications. That's when you really feel like the upgrade here. Now the Note 10 Plus has a 60Hz display, which is actually very smooth for 60Hz. But 120Hz is one of those things that you have to try, so I would recommend just go in a store like Best Buy, see if 120Hz is something that you would like. I think once you try it, you probably will never want to go back to 60Hz, but definitely that's the big difference there is that it's brighter and overall it has the 120Hz. Also, it's not as aggressively curved as the Note 10 Plus as well too, which is something that you may or may not like. I do like the curved look a lot, but I get why Samsung did this for accidental touches. So again, it's still, they both curved, but the S23 is not as aggressively curved. But as far as the screen, I mean, the Note 10 Plus still has a fantastic screen. It really comes down to how much do you use your phone outdoors, brightness, bright situations, is it bright enough? And also, do you want the 120 Hertz? Alright guys, let's talk about these specs a little bit more here because this is a significant upgrade if you are a power user. So the Note 10 Plus It does run Android 12 One UI 4.1. That was the last major OS update. This phone is currently going to get a few years of security patches, and then the S23 Ultra is running the latest Android 13 One UI 5.1, and it will have a pretty long lifespan, getting 4 major OS updates and 5 years of security patches. So this phone is going to last a very, very long time. So as you can see, the difference with the processors here. So we're running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, and it is for Galaxy, so it's slightly higher clock speed on the S23. And then the Adreno 740, no SD card support. The base model is 256, 8 gigs. This is a 512, 12 gigabyte model. And then you do have on the Note 10 Plus, this is something that I really like. So the Note 10 Plus actually kind of wins in this area. So it has 256 gigs of internal storage, and then it also has 12 gigs of RAM, and that's the base model. So that is really awesome. That's something I really like. They really need to have a 12 gigabyte version base model only for the S23 Ultra, honestly, for the money that you pay. But the Note 10 Plus does have SD card support. So basically the SD card support, you're able to have expandable storage, which means you have overall more storage. If you take a lot of videos or you download a lot of content, the Note 10 Plus will have more storage. So that's something that I really do like. It's definitely something to consider. Again, you take a lot of video, watch a lot of content. As far as the daily experience with these two phones here, it's not a big difference as far as the speed is concerned. The S23 Ultra is definitely faster, but you can see it's pretty much, for the casual user experience, you're not really going to notice too much of a difference when it comes to speed. Actually, you guys see how close these actually are in terms of just opening applications, stuff like that. It really does feel pretty much on par with each other. Again, you will tell that difference with the scrolling, 120 hertz versus 60 hertz. But as far as your general, opening applications and stuff like that, you're really not going to see too much of a speed increase, honestly, here. Now, let's go ahead and launch something a little bit heavier like PUBG here. So, if you're a hardcore gamer, obviously the newer phone is going to do a better job with gaming performance overall. It's just going to be more consistent with, running frame rates and stuff like that. But surprisingly, the Note 10 Plus still, all these years later, with the Snapdragon 855 chip on here and the Adreno 640. Alright, so basically in a game like PUBG here, we're actually running the same settings. So both these phones play at HDR Extreme. Currently right now there's no 90 frames option for the S23 Ultra. I'm sure it might get updated, but it's very, very smooth, holds 90 frames, doesn't really get hot when gaming, which is also, I think, a huge plus. It's a very, very smooth and efficient gaming experience as well too. So that's something that I really like. But if you guys check out my gaming test for the Note 10 Plus, it does an excellent job with gaming. It's actually pretty incredible. It does HDR Extreme as well too. And again, like I said, the Snapdragon 855 chip on here, it's still very, very smooth. So check out the full gaming test if you want to see this more in detail. But the casual gamer is not going to notice, I think, like a massive difference. Like I said, if you're not like a super serious gamer, you're not going to notice a big difference with gaming because it literally plays on the same settings. Yeah, but it's just like, yeah, the S23 Ultra, it does going to have a smoother gaming experience because it has a newer chip, so frame rates are going to be, it just feels a little bit smoother and consistent. But for the average person, I don't think you're going to notice a difference too much at all. That's how good the Note 10 Plus does. You could definitely feel the smoothness a little bit. It is definitely a little bit smoother. But in general, like I said, guys, your gaming experience is not going to be that much different if you're not like a hardcore gamer or something like that. You'll really won't feel the difference, honestly, unless you play a game that's compatible with the high refresh rate. I just don't see people noticing too much of a difference. So that's why I like these old flagship phones, because they still very powerful and they last a long time when it comes to performance for the average person, I think. Alright guys, let's check out the speaker quality on both these phones. The S23 Ultra does have a A nice speaker upgrade that Samsung did, unlike the S22 Ultra, which had terrible speakers compared to the Note 10 Plus. Let's go ahead and play them side by side. Max volume, both Dolby Atmos. So you can almost instantly tell the S23 Ultra is just a fuller sound, heavier bass, overall just slightly louder. Note 10 Plus is still pretty impressive sound quality. It's not too far off, but you can definitely tell immediately. It is noticeable, so I'm really happy about the nice speaker upgrade this year with the S23 Ultra. As far as your other additional features here, they pretty much have the same thing going on pretty much as far as all the bells and whistles. Under the display, fingerprint sensor is here on both of these devices. They pretty much feel the same. You also have face unlock. Both these phones also have basically the same features as far as Samsung desktop support, reverse wireless charging. Basically all the software features are here. And when it comes to the S Pen, the quality of the S Pen, right? So it pretty much feels like you feel the difference, right? So I will say that. So if you're in the digital artwork, you will feel the difference. The S23 does feel pretty much instant, and it just feels really instant. I think that has a lot to do with the 120 hertz display, just making it feel a lot smoother when drawing and stuff like that. But the Note 10 Plus still feels great. They're both really good for digital artwork still. But yeah, so if you're a big fan of the stylus, yeah, you will notice like it does feel a little bit more smoother and a little bit more instant on the S23 Ultra. But as far as the software features and all that good stuff, it's basically the same thing. It's basically nothing you can't do with the S Pen. You can pretty much do the same thing with the S23 Ultra. There's no big difference. Alright, so here is I think the biggest difference between these two phones here. So the Note 10 Plus has a triple camera setup. It's a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel telephoto. It does 2x optical zoom, and then you also have a 16 megapixel ultra wide and then a 0.3 depth sensor as well, and it goes up to, you can see, 10 times digital zoom. And then it has a 10 megapixel selfie cam that has 4K 60. The S23 Ultra is basically like on steroids. It's 200 megapixel camera for the main lens, 10 megapixel periscope telephoto, 10x optical zoom, 10 megapixel telephoto lens, 3 times optical zoom, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It also has a macro mode, 8K 30, and then you also have a 12 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. This phone is also able to go up to 100 times zoom, and the zoom capabilities of the S23 Ultra is pretty incredible. So that's one thing that if you go to like sporting events and stuff like that, the 10 times zoom is pretty crazy. You get extremely high quality shots, but also 30 times is pretty good as well too. And like I said, it just has the beefier numbers. It takes higher resolution shots. It takes better low light shots. So I would say if you're into cameras, I think this is a pretty solid upgrade, but I took a bunch of side-by-side stills so you guys can see for yourself. Do you guys think this is worth the upgrade here? So if you're not into the zoom and all the cameras and stuff like that, side-by-side stills, what do you guys think? Here's the video on the Note 10 Plus here. Can you guys tell the difference here? Let me know. And 1080p 60, I can only do 1x on this phone. But what do you guys think? Pretty good. Alright guys, here's just a little test footage of the S23 Ultra here for the video. The 3x, 10x. As you see, just look at the detail. It's really nice. Very impressive. And we do have a 0.6 on here as well too. So just awesome image quality here, man. Alright, lastly, let's touch on the battery life experience because this could be pretty important for you guys as well too. So the S23 Ultra does have a bigger battery size. It's a 5,000 milliamp battery, 45 watt charging, wireless and reverse wireless charging. The Note 10 Plus does have a 4,300 milliamp battery, 45 watt charging as well, so they both charge at the same speeds. And then it also has the wireless and reverse wireless charging. Surprisingly, for the first year, the battery life is improving on, you know, the Samsung's flagships, because I did a battery drain test with the Note 10 Plus compared to the S22 Ultra, the S21. You know, they were virtually the same. The Note 20 Ultra, they're all getting around 6 hours of screen on time. You are getting better battery life on the S23 Ultra, which is very nice. So it's actually really nice thanks to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor on here. Just this phone being more efficient, so you are getting better battery life. So I'm really happy about that. Like I said, my Note 10 Plus, it can last me pretty much all day around, you know, 6 hours of screen on time, but you definitely get like a day and a half if you're a light user on this phone easily, if not more, on the S23 Ultra. So if you're looking for a pretty nice battery upgrade, I think it's a pretty solid upgrade. So in general, guys, we can see that these phones are very close. I think it comes down to really the cameras and I would say the cameras, and if you're a hardcore gamer, the chipset. But other than that, the Note 10 Plus, you can see it's still lasting. Also, you get more major OS updates with the S23 Ultra as well too. That's something to consider. But man, the Note 10 Plus is still a very good phone that you can pretty much hold, and it still goes head to head with the S23. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.